I'd like to call up Kobi Samboursky, a co-founder and managing partner of Glilot Capital, with many exits to their name, and Shlomo Kramer, who is co-founder and now CEO of Cato Networks, but co-founder also of Checkpoint, Imperva, and an investor in many successful cyber companies. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Giri.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to be here, specifically 2024 with everything that's going on, and special thanks for the organizers for setting this up. Totally not trivial, and thanks for all our friends from abroad that came over specifically this year. I'm super excited to kick off this session with Shlomo that became, at least to me, an icon of the Israeli cyber ecosystem. We started Glilot, it's already been 14 years, believe it or not, and we've been the first cyber focus globally, but already when we started, Shlomo was a strong name, already after founding Checkpoint, of course, and Imperva, and this was still before Cato. But not just this, you've already been a very active investor. So when we looked into other investors in the space, there are not too many, but your name was kind of surfacing out as the person to look at, what they're doing and maybe hopefully try to copy something. So super excited to be here, and maybe we'll start with a few comments about the early days of your career. Now starting a cyber startup, I wouldn't say it's trivial, but it's almost trivial. It's clear that cyber is huge, and it's clear that Israel is huge in cyber. But when you guys started Checkpoint, this was definitely not the case. So what can you say about those first years, those first days?
So the huge difference, Kobi, was that there was no VC community, right? So we obviously had an idea. We really believed in that idea. It was a contrarian idea. At the time, it was about the potential value of the internet as to create a new market for new products. Back in 1992, 1993, it was a contrarian idea, but we needed funding. So I think that is the key difference today, that entrepreneurs have a very solid ecosystem, not only to get the funding, but to get all the help that they need in order to bootstrap create their idea into a real company. We had to do without it, so it was much more difficult.
We'll talk later maybe about the journey of the Israeli ecosystem in cyber, because to me, this journey is amazing. If you look at the first generation companies like Checkpoint, I think started around a very strong technology, but maybe did not have the funding or the power to really grow very aggressively. And you see the companies of this generation, at least some of them, running much more aggressively and thinking very big from day one and growing in great pace. But we'll get to this later. This mid-generation companies, it's more companies like Imperva that you started a few years after. What was different about Imperva? How do you compare Imperva journey with the Checkpoint journey?
So I think as an entrepreneur, and you're right, I'm also an investor, but as an entrepreneur, I did 3 companies, and every company has, if I'm trying to retrospect and think of a single thing, every company had a very unique challenge to it. So obviously, starting almost bootstrapping Checkpoint without any funding or with very little funding was a huge challenge, and then hitting it with Sun Microsystem as the distributor and needing to build an organization in front of the demand was a challenge. I would say that Imperva was the opposite. Imperva was one of the world's first data security company. Today, data security is tens of billions of dollars in annual revenues, a very central category in security. But when we started in beginning of 2002, There were no data security company, no disclosure laws, PCI was not around yet, and frankly, when we came out with the product, nobody understood what we are talking about, and there were crickets. And there were crickets for a year and a quarter, until PCI came, and then the market immediately. But the challenge of keeping the team together, keeping the vision together, keeping everybody believing in it, was the main kind of challenge of the early days of Imperva, kind of the opposite of what Checkpoint was.
I think it's amazing. I mean, when we see also our journey, one of the things we are so happy about in the last couple of years is to have a group of second timers to work with. And you know, when you work with second timers, you tend to think, you know, things will be much easier because they have all this experience. But it's kind of, you know, that on every journey there you have your own challenge. And even when you're coming as a second timer, maybe the expectations are higher. So things are maybe a little bit easier, but they're not really easier. It's always...
No, it's you know, they are a little bit easier from I would say the functional side, but startup is a very human experience. It lives and dies by the psychology and the personalities of the, as you know very well, of the founders and what they are able to bring to the team. And it is also harder. It's like the second record. Yeah? You had a hit record, and now you need to prove that it's not a one-time hit. You have already a personality, a way that people look at you, and you need to put yourself in a position that you can do mistakes and you can fail and you can be human, and that's kind of the opposite of having a persona. So this is something you have to shake off every day.
Interesting. And moving to Cato, and to me, Cato represents this current generation of Israeli cyber innovation. So companies that think big, or which would even say very big from day one. So not just about a technology solution, but a platform that really changes the way you work. And I'm sure you'll add more than I. And also, again, growing very aggressively, thinking of world dominance from day one. So, you know, what was different with Cato than with the previous company?
It was very different. First of all, Cato was an idea that says, hey, the cyber market is broken, and specifically the part of the market that I've been has been very close to me for many years, network security, is broken. You know, the first generation was Checkpoint. Checkpoint was not the first firewall. Before Checkpoint, there were firewalls whose name got lost in history, like Raptor and Gauntlet, because they were very complex. It was multiple days of work, and you got 3 applications up and running to the internet. The revolution that Checkpoint brought was an operational efficiency revolution, more than anything else. In single floppy disk, if you remember what it was, you install in 5 minutes, you were up and running securely to the internet with any applications, current or future. So that created the whole market, and that was good for 10 years. But then there were a bunch of these floppy disks running around with antivirus and URL filtering and many different security capabilities, and things became complicated again. So there was the second generation of network security, which was, you know, Nir Zook from Palo Alto, which I was lucky enough to write the first check to and sit on his board. Ken Z from Fortinet really came out with the converged network security appliance, the UTM. Simplify things, basically put all of that in a single appliance, throw the appliance on network, and you're up and running again, presumably in 5 minutes. And that was a great revolution as well. Great companies came out of it, Fortinet, Palo. And for about 10-15 years, that was a solution. But then digital transformation came, and work from anywhere, and cloud data center, and SaaS applications. and the physical perimeter built from these appliances dissolved, and appliances became a part of the problem, not part of the solution. And what we came to do at Cato is come with the third generation. So for me, it was kind of very clear, we did Checkpoint, Palo, what's next? Cato. The form factor is fluid, as fluid as digital transformation, and unfortunately, it's a big idea. You need to build a cloud network all over the world. We have today 90 POPs in every country that you can think of. You need to run both a stable network and a dynamic and great security stack, which is a challenge nobody did before. So when we came to, back in 2015, when Gur Schatz and myself came to raise funds as the two founders of Cato, and both of us had good reputation of building, some said, hey, this is an ambitious idea, which means, I guess, go away in VC language. But we got enough people to really believe in the idea, and we got it up and running. And today we are a leader in a category that is the future of network security. But we also did another thing which I want to emphasize. We decided that Cato headquarters is going to be in Israel, and essentially build an Israel. It's a global company. It's a very global company, as I said. I don't know, we are in 150 countries today serving customers. But the senior management, both on the go-to-market, G&A, and product side, sits in Israel. And essentially, that was a statement about the maturity of the Israeli high-tech community, which was very different than the two startups before that.
Yeah, it's super interesting because you're talking about your own personal journey, but within that we can see the journey of the Israeli ecosystem. And I think Cato, of course, it's your credit, but I don't think that something like this could have started at the days of Checkpoint because of the VC ecosystem, because of the existence of second and third timers that can allow themselves to raise a lot of money to create a big story.
Absolutely. The business of building startups used to be a startup when we were at Checkpoint. When you look now at where we are, both in the Silicon Valley and in Israel, it's a very organized, professional, methodical process with expertise, and it's not a startup anymore, the business of building startups.
So we're just like halfway into the first page and signs are being waved at me already. So let's try to push forward. 2024, obviously we cannot have a session like this without talking about the Israel endurance, and specifically the endurance of the cyber ecosystem. For me, it's been amazing because on the business side, we had a great year with exits and fundings and lots of great ideas, of young companies, getting over. What are your takes about this resiliency?
So I think my experience has, and we've been through COVID and we've been through a lot. Definitely, both the employees in Israel, their families, have shown tremendous resiliency in the last 9 months. But also the employees of Cato outside of Israel have shown tremendous empathy and standing with the Israeli team and helping and taking responsibilities and covering, and the partners and the customers. I was really moved and touched by the entire ecosystem that surrounded us, and see how much support and I have to assume this is the statistics in the world, not what we see necessarily at the tip of the iceberg in the news, how much support we have to Israel and to the high-tech community.
I have to say, I share the same thoughts. I'm traveling a lot. Whenever I'm traveling, I get a lot of very positive feedback, including physical hugs and so forth from people that are working with us. So that's certainly a good experience. We're here also. This is also AI week, right? What do you think about AI? Could we as an ecosystem duplicate the cyber success with AI, or is cyber so unique?
So I have a contrarian opinion on AI. I think I was fortunate enough to live through multiple revolutions, like personal computer. I was a PC kid before there was a PC.
Same here.
The internet, mobile phones, cloud, and all of them were great platforms for two people and a dog and to start a startup. I think AI is different because you need data, and you need very, very specific data around a problem in order to be able to have the advantage. And you need a lot of money around that data because you need to invest in the models, etc. And you need agility, which is, I think that AI is going to drive a lot of startups, but it's going also to be driven by the companies that have already the data, but also have the mindset of a startup to use it in a completely new and effective way. So I think it's going to be different.
And obviously, we already see a big impact of AI on cybersecurity, either in securing AI, but also in terms of the SecOp and other cyber operations that are being improved for the use of AI.
So there's both sides are kind of obvious at this stage, but I'll state the obvious. One side is what kind of I've been, IT security, which means, if you had a very sophisticated nation-state actor, but very scarce at a high level, targeting high-value targets, if you can replicate it with an AI, today you can't yet, but perhaps down the road, this is a very challenging thing for security. But I can see security facing that with essentially AI-based defenses. So you have AI versus AI, and it's a red queen race we can win. The other side is much more complicated. That's the side of deepfake, both on fraud side. So you don't only get an email from your CFO, but you also get a phone call and perhaps a Zoom with something that you can't distinguish from the CFO. But I think the most dangerous thing in AI is, I would say, people not knowing what's true or false. I'll use 20 minutes to pitch that. People not knowing what's true or false. 20 seconds. Yeah, 20 seconds to pitch that. Not knowing what true is false, being confused psychologically, and defaulting to what's consistent. And what's consistent is essentially, I don't know, I'm going to follow some group in Twitter, I'm going to watch Fox News and vote for Donald Trump. Say, this is consistent, there's also consistent on the other side, and that can fracture societies and essentially reverse, and I'm going to say a big thing, reverse everything that the science revolution have created. Because essentially you're taking a society that is now based on true or false, right or wrong, and move it to a faith-based society, which is very bad.
I'll take a positive spin on that. I think as what AI is showing us, that as a cyber community, we'll have lots of challenges to continue to deal with. So certainly hoping to meet everyone next year in Cyber Week, and hopefully in 10 and 20 years to come. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Shlomo. Thanks.